Austin here with the boss lady, Mare. We want to do part 2 of the intermittent fasting vlog. So getting a lot of reaction, questions, comments, concerns on intermittent fasting, and I wanted the boss in here because she's doing it with me. And I think a few things that are important. One, we have different goals. We have different purposes when it comes to working out and all this other stuff, where for me, if I need to get multiple workouts in a day, for Mare, it's
just one workout.
Just one workout, like a normal human. And I think that, so we decided to do this stuff together. And it's actually one of the first times we've actually done something together like this, where, and so I really like it, and that's something that I wanted to talk about because someone wrote in a comment in the previous video, they're concerned about athletes that are doing this and you go into a catabolic state and so on and so forth. So I think a few things are important to understand. One, nutrition is different for everyone, right? And I think that's one thing. But also, you read one study and then another study. Remember, nutrition is, there's one constant, it's everyone has a different prescription that's going to work for them based off their goals. I personally have never really, in the past year or so, I never have done a lot of post-workout nutrition. I'm well versed in the understanding of anabolic versus catabolic and what the purposes are, caloric restriction, things like that. But I can tell you that from across the long term, from my friends that have done it, they've seen good success. But I think it's less of the long-term effect on, your cortisol and your blood sugar and that stuff, because I think that stuff will speak for itself. I think the biggest concern that I would have for someone is a lifestyle, where it has to fit your lifestyle. Some days are easier than others, right? And I think that for our lifestyle, it fits pretty well. But we're going on vacation next week, so we might have to tweak it a little bit. And obviously, it's not the end of the world if you miss a couple days. I think that's the beauty of something like this. It's relatively easy to get back on. It's not like it's super restrictive. It's just it's more of a time perspective. So I'll put some studies in there, but one of my studies I pulled up, it was the metabolic effects of intermittent fasting, and it's essentially a review, but it shows an unbelievable understanding of the metabolic effects of what it does to your body. Now, for those that are competing on a high level, I think you have to inch your way there. I've been in a caloric deficit for a long time. I've never been into eating a lot of food. It's just my personal piece. But I also zoned for 5 years straight. My relationship with food is very different than most, where I know exactly how much I'm eating, and I'm not really under eating too much. I'm just changing the window in which I'm eating, which I really do like. My digestive system better, my sleep has been better. There's a lot of other things, but beyond that, it's very hard to overeat. And that's what I like about it, because now there are days where that would never happen either way, but that's why I like it from that perspective. What has been your favorite aspect of it? Because you're different than I am, where the sense of, for me, it's, concern is training, recovery, performance, and that's maybe not.
I don't care anything about that.
What do you care about?
Well, I do like to eat and sometimes overeat. So it doesn't really allow you to. There's just really not enough time. But I also really like that, like he said, my digestive system has seen better, and you kind of get used to it in the sense of, like, the first couple of days I was starved in the morning and I was like, oh, forget this, I'm not gonna be able to do it. But you kind of get used to it, and then you end up being a little bit more energized for the second half of the day, which is always when I'm dragging. So I've liked that.
It's funny you bring that up. I've noticed that too, where my days there are times where I'm exhausted in the afternoon. I feel way less of that than I ever have. And I didn't actually think about it until you just said that. But if I open the gym, I'm up at 4:30, and then, I'll be driving home in the afternoon around 2 or so, and then, for the afternoon shift with Haley and getting some other work done, and usually I'm shot, where I don't feel that way anymore, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I do like that. So making some good learnings here, I think a lot of people.
Oh, I also like that, but I also like that because you're it's just a timing thing. You're not, what you eat, that's a different thing. If you want to do it paleo or zone or whatever, I guess you could. But for me, I've always had trouble with those types of diets where it's really quantity based. So for this, it's like you can eat whatever you want. You just have a smaller window. And so I find myself that I'm not having to restrict myself from any foods, but that I'm still not overeating any foods because it's really just so much less time. I don't have the time to like pig out and have a whole, whatever. So I like that.
And I think that it also teaches you an understanding, and this is something that I've known for a while, but I think it's been even more highlighted that if you're idle and you're not busy, you eat. Where if you're busy and you're doing something, whether it is training, whether it is working, whatever it might be. I mean, we've all been there. We're like, wow, I forgot to eat for X amount, and that's not necessarily a good thing unless you find that schedule piece. So I do think it's also the intermittent fasting will teach you to be productive, will teach you to be active and doing things, because the last thing you want to do is be sitting around doing nothing. Because with that idle time, you're like, well, what do I do? Eat. And I think that's something for a lot of people, they struggle with it. So, with that idle time and I think the relationship with food for a lot of people is something they struggle with. So I think that's something that can be super helpful is stay busy.
The other plus that I have also is that I have been way more hydrated. Because all morning long, I'm just drinking, whether it's tea or water. I don't drink caffeine, so whether it's tea or water, I just drink tons of it because it helps me feel full still, and I have been so hydrated, way more than normal. I get like my daily quantity of, of water in before I even eat, which is at noon for me normally, so that's been really cool too. Sometimes I struggle to get all my water in.
And I think, the last little thing to kind of, for the performance thing, this is not a diet that you're going to do when you're competing. And what I mean by that is in a competition. That's a different piece here. That's going to be very different. This is something that from a consistency of lifestyle and consistent training, I know a lot of athletes that have executed on this, that have done this with high volume training. Now, it does need to fit your lifestyle because if you're waking up at 4 a.m. and getting 6 sessions in and before you eat, you might need to tweak up that time. But if you're getting one good session in and within that mid-morning and you eat around noon, you're going to be fine. So I do think that the details do matter a little bit. And for the athletes that I know that do that, they're well aware of their training volume, and more of their training volume happens in the afternoon, which allows them to eat. I also have always liked eating later at night. So eating at 8 or 9 o'clock. So I do a 9 to 1 split, which I love, and it's good for my lifestyle. And so it fit in well with what I was doing. So I really like to train in the morning, and I hit one training in the morning, one training in the afternoon now for my 2 sessions, and this seems to be working really well for me. And for those of you nerds out there that want me to get my blood work done, maybe I'll get my blood work done in like a month or so to see what that looks like. But
I won't.
Mare won't, but I will. But we'll keep touching base on this.
I don't think anybody's worried about my blood.
I am.
Okay.
But drop your questions, your comments, your concerns in the comments, and we'll address that stuff. But we'll keep diving into this. I'll also post a link to this article that I found really useful. Also, someone else shot me a note about a book they read that was really cool about some intermittent fasting, some cool stuff. So if you want to nerd on that, or you just want to chat about it, let us know.